Hello to America. Today we are going to discuss on the most interesting subject of exploring divinity. We hear this word divine, and this word is now very commonly used. But let us try and understand what its original the meaning and what it stands for. One nice image that I like, say if there is a glass of milk, and this glass of milk you put a drop of poison, then it is not milk anymore, it becomes poison, maybe diluted poison or concentrated poison. In the same way, if there is a glass of milk, but there is no dirt, no poison, then you get milk. Same thing happens with our mind. If the mind has 0 drop of poison, and the poison here is any form of inauspicious feelings. It can be just a little anxiety, little disappointment, loss or concern, maybe bigger form, fear, anger. But 1 drop is required to spoil the mind. And many people will say, is it possible at all to get a mind free from something of this kind, free from the drop of poison? With all the history that we have, there are lots of things we can think of, and there are things of disappointment. And the answer, of course, is yes. Even for 1 minute, we can experiment with it today and experience that mind that is free from anything inauspicious. And what remains is something very different. Your original nature. And the original nature is of contentment and peace and bliss and love. And not just nice words and not just nice theory, but anyone can experiment with this. But even more interesting about this is when you are in that space, you are free from any thing of the pretense. You are authentic in your virtues. All that helps us to understand what possibly is the original nature of a human being. In one interesting dynamics of the human being, or for that matter, animal, you increase the needs. You can create a fabricated desire in a person. Say there is a child, you just show some chocolate, show ice cream, and you create a need in that person. And then more chances he's unhappy. He was quite content before, but now he's slave to 1 more item. Just by creating a need, you lose power. Something else becomes powerful or becomes your master. Yeah, whether it is child or same thing applies to adult or same thing applies to animal. And another factor that makes us weak and makes us lose power is if something external was to harm me, or if I interpret something that can harm me. It can be a storm going to come and that may harm me. And there is we all are so fired for our survival. So that makes us lose power. That distracts us completely. We lose our moral compass. We compromise our own values. But we don't need a storm to make us feel, something can harm me. Ego within us will feel harmed just by a word from someone. So more ego I create, more attachments I create, more people can harm me. Or I see or interpret that I can be harmed. Just these two things that make us lose power. And somehow, if we reduce these two factors, you find there is less of the slavery, and you become your own master. In other words, there is nothing external that decides for you, that can make you unhappy. In spiritual understanding, spiritual knowledge, we use the language of the invisible guest on this planet, in this world. That is common sense. We all are guests. But anyone can experiment with this. Be that invisible guest, one who is visiting this world just for a very short time. But it is 5 minutes or 1,000 years. These are all in a very, we can see it as a short time in the context of eternity. It is up to us to see it as long or short. And if I see it that I am this invisible guest, or just see the perspective of the invisible guest, he needs nothing from here. He's just a guest. And this invisible guest has got his world beyond. Just a thought experiment. See the perspective of this invisible guest who is beyond harm and who is not a beggar. Then when you are playing with this, even for 1 minute, you will discover that you are not losing power, but you are powerful. Nothing of this world can harm you, and you need nothing from anywhere or anyone. Just for 1 minute, you discover that mind. And once you are free like this, free from this slave mentality, that's what we are talking about. In this perspective, you become free from the slave mentality, beggar mentality, and the victim mentality. Leave aside, there are other mentalities also, like demon mentality, where he is ready to rob or out of greed can do anything. But here, just becoming free from these lower mentalities, what you discover is the noble personality within you. This applies to each and every creature. They will discover that side of them where he is powerful, and this power manifests with contentment and inner happiness and love. And now he's loving not because of he's getting some chocolates from someone. His love will be immense. He doesn't need to pretend to love. He doesn't need to prove his love, but there will be love. But it will be not just love, one person, but that will be, he will experience love. But this is the very interesting side of the human being. This love will remain in spite of anything, in spite of the problems. His happiness will remain in spite of situations. That's why we use the word divine. And it also tells us that each and every human being is divine. By that, what we mean, there is no demon. It is not mixed with some kind of manipulation, some kind of he needs some commission. He is happy to love, but as long as you do something for me. That is not there. There is no condition. There is no pretense. But same thing applies to his, personality of contentment. At this stage, all that is required, we discover this. To maintain it as another effort. We don't say everyone experiences, just that what we call love that exists in the world outside. That is a different game. When one is in the beggar mentality, what can you expect? He will be doing things helplessly. He has got his own needs and own insecurities. Same human being. But when he's in the beggar mentality, it is a different expression. It rules his life. If it is a victim mentality, it rules his life. We have the option to experiment. Just this invisible guest on this planet, and we are underlining this. He needs nothing from here, from the entire world. He doesn't need the body, he doesn't need. He is as if an observer at this level. He's from a different world. And nothing from here can harm him, even the slightest. Invisible guest. He is very fond of his world. He is not here to gather something or to brag, but he has come here to go. Very different game. But all of this helps us discover that side. It also leads to understanding that every creature, I'm saying here, not just humans, but even animals, every animal being, in its essence, they are all divine beings. Because they are not from here. That this is a temporary experience for each and every soul. And if wherever there are souls, souls are immortal. And at our starting position, we all are free from this victim mind and beggar mind. That's why we can get this, with the animals also. You make them secure, you in an artificial way, keep them beyond harm, and their desires are fulfilled. So actively they are not having desires. You see their good side. If you stir them up, you will see their demonic side also. But if you superficially create an environment, you see the other side with every creature, and so also with human beings. But here we are not talking about just a superficial patch-up. We have the option to explore this side and realize that this is the way human beings are before we sinned. Only when we cross the line and get into unnecessary bondage, all these lower mentalities we speak about, they are not necessary. That is just a confusion. And we have the option to re-experience this. If the concept of the soul helps us to rediscover this divinity, it is worth taking on this concept and exploring this concept of the soul. Invisible guest is the invisible soul. and for us to become soul conscious. Let us create that 1 minute right now. And during this 1 minute, it is an objective experience, which means we are avoiding the letter I. We are seeing the invisible guest who is visiting this world as it is, in your city, town, in the country. This invisible guest is visiting here. He is very clear of his guaranteed exit. He has no intention to get stuck in this world. He has no intention to collect things, get attached to things. He is very clear of his world beyond. And already we see, the moment we get this attitude that he needs nothing here and nothing of this world can harm him, like any guest, like any tourist, he finds every moment here is a gift. Every experience appears like a gift. There is an attitude of appreciation, an attitude of fun. He finds every interaction is a gift, every experience a gift. That little sound here and little personality is amused. And he is amused and he finds it fun because deep inside it is auspicious. Everything becomes auspicious at a deep level when we are exploring that noble personality. Nice to remember, we all are divine beings. Anything else is not compulsory.